Good morning. Welcome to our fifth week of online learning for the fourth quarter. Our topic is Goes to End Gender Inequality, Labor Issue, and Climate Change. In this lesson, you are expected to first identify the major organizations addressing gender inequality, labor issue, and climate change. Second, discuss the major roles and functions of these organizations addressing gender inequality, labor issue, and climate change. Third, create a support mechanism to overcome gender inequality, labor issue, and climate change. Organizations that address gender inequality, labor issue, and climate change. For so many years, it has been a discussion over the Senate, Congress, and Executive the achievement of gender equality. More so, with a better representation of women in politics, more economic opportunities, and better healthcare in many places of the globe. According to the World Economic Forum, as an estimator, it would take another 10 years for the gender to equally achieve because of the gaps made by the following causes, such as uneven access to education, lack of employment quality, lack of legal protection, and many more. In this lesson, let us consider the different organizations that hasten their results to end the gaps locally, nationally, and globally. The table below includes the three major organizations promotes gender equality as well as government agencies, helping the government achieve to end gender equality in the country. The three major organizations promoting gender equality are globally. First, Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. Second, UN Women. Third, the Gender and Development Network. And the three major organizations promoting gender equality are nationally. First, National Economic Development Authority. Second, Department of Education. Third, Philippine Commission on Women. In the global level, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe aims to provide equal opportunities for women and men, as well as to integrate gender equality into policies and practices, both within participating states and the organization itself. It works for stability, peace, and democracy for more than 1 billion people. Through political dialogue and about shared values and through practical work that aims to make a lasting difference. There are 57 states involved in OSCE, including North America, Europe, and Asia. Second major organization is United Nations Women, which works for the elimination of discrimination against women and girls, empowerment of women, and the achievement of equality between women and men as partners and beneficiaries of development, human rights, humanitarian action, and peace and security. Third is Gender and Development Network, a diverse, effective, and inclusive membership network made up of leading UK-based organizations or NGO staff, practitioners, consultants, and academicians working on gender development and women's rights issues. In the Philippines, there are government agencies like National Economic Development Authority that aims to promote a whole society approach to strengthen the linkages between government and non-government agencies and organizations, development priorities, and resource allocation to realize the Sustainable Development Goal or SDG number 5, the gender equality, and SDG 10, reduce inequalities. The SDGs, also known as global goals, in which primarily a call of United Nations member states to end up poverty, protect the planet Earth, and to ensure all prosperity and peace of everyone in 2030. In this goal number 5, women and girls have given equal opportunity and rights to live free of discrimination and violence. The achievement of this goal in 2030 will be the basis for the success of total elimination of the gender-based violence in many countries, since there are still 49 countries who lack laws protection on women and girls in terms of domestic violence, while 39 countries have only equal rights for daughters and sons in line with inheritance rights. And for Sustainable Development Goal number 10, which is reducing inequalities within the countries and among the countries in the form of income disparity. It is recorded that the richest 10% earns 10% to 40% of the total global income, while the poorest 10%, which is the 10%, are only earning 2% to 7% of the global income. In the developing countries, inequality increased by the 11% from the growth population. The mission of SDGs is to fasten the reduction and elimination of disparities in achieving the target's inclusion of SDGs in 2030. The Department of Education also created a gender-responsive basic education policy or DepEd Order number 32, 2017, integrating the principles of gender equality, gender equity, gender sensitivity, non-discrimination, and human rights in the provision and governance of basic education. Another organization is Philippine Commission on Women. This has its own mandates and functions, such as instituting the gender responsiveness of national development plan and undertake continuing advocacy to promote economic, social, and political empowerment of women and provide technical assistance in the setting up and strengthening of mechanisms on gender mainstreaming. The table below represents the major organizations that support the protection and sustenance of the laborers to reduce inequalities in the workplace. Three major organizations for the labor support are globally. First, International Labor Organization or ILO. Second, Fair Labor Association. Third, Industrial Workers of the World. The three major organizations for the labor support nationally. First, Department of Health. Second, Department of Labor and Employment. Third, Department of Trade and Industry. Under the major labor support organization, the International Labor Organization or ILO is a United Nations agency whose mandate is to advance social and economic justice through setting international labor standards. Founded in 1919 under the League of Nations, it is is the first and oldest specialized agency of the United Nations. It is composed of 187 member states. Its purpose to set labor standards, develop policies, and devise programs promoting decent work for all women and men. Another labor support organization is Fair Labor Association. Its aim is to find sustainable solutions to systematic labor issues. It started in 1999 that Fair Labor Association helped improve workers' lives. They observe also FLAS, Code of Conduct and External Assessments and Viable Labor Concerns. Industrial Workers of the World is also a labor organization founded in Chicago in 1905. Started with 43 groups, it opposed the American Federation of Labor's acceptance of capitalism and its refusal to include unskilled workers in craft unions. In the country, these two agencies, like Department of Health and Department of Labor and Employment, both have greater concern for workers on mental health issues and correct the stigma and discrimination associated with mental health conditions. Workers also are not exempted to commit burnout from workplace as conceptualized syndrome understood to be stress-related that cannot be treated successfully by the workers themselves. In addition to this, the anxiety attack by people in this pandemic time, that's why workers attended psychosocial support webinars aligns these policies anchored by Republic Act 113036 or the Mental Health Act. What about Department of Trade and Industry in connection with tourism industry? Their functions will be cover the safety measures of the employees, whether it will be private or public. Mostly of the employees are exposed to public and live or work on special concern areas such as in the public sector, media, local manufacturing companies, food retail, transport, logistic public market, construction, water supply, and waste management. In line with the human security of the workers so far, the overall health protocols of DTI and DOLE for swab testing and RT-PCR testing for free are being raised because there are workers who are currently reporting on their posts. The table below shows the major organizations that fight the climate change and other environmental realities. The three major organizations that monitors climate change globally. First, UNIDO or United Nations Industrial Development Organization. Second is UNEP or United Nations Environment Program. Third is World Meteorological Organization. The three major government agencies that monitors climate change are nationally. First is DOE or Department of Energy. Second is DA, Department of Agriculture. Third is DPWH or Department of Public Works and Highways. There are three major organizations that support the laborers at the same time, have environmental concern worldwide such as United Nations Industrial Development Organization, a specialized agency of UN, which aims to assist in the industrialization of the developing countries by coordinating other UN organizations devoted to this end. It is also committed to assist the Philippines in attaining sustainable development by delivering meaningful interventions in the areas of productivity, trade facilitation, energy, and environment. The connection of labor problems in their workplace may also include their human safety and the environment where they belong. There are laborers who are exposed to hazardous situations like mining and dynamite fishing, which is the worst practices of human labor. In that way, not only human security is needed, but the rivers, mountains, and forests should be protected as part of the food and environmental security, in which connected to the program of UNIDO as rural and agro-industrial development. Therefore, UNIDO has both concern in human capital and environmental capital of the country. Another is United Nations Environment Program or UNEP, which considered to be a leading environmental authority in the United Nations system. The UN authorizes its expertise to strengthen environmental standards and practices while helping implement environmental obligations at the country, regional, and global levels. UNEP's mission is to encourage partnership in caring the environment and improves people's quality of life without compromising the future generations' environment. The World Meteorological Organization, or WMO, is another specialized of the United Nations that serve as the voice of the state and behavior of the Earth's atmosphere, its interaction with the oceans, the climate it produces, and the resulting distribution of water resources. In the Philippines itself, come out with this action plan ranging from 2011 to 2028, creating the establishment of Climate Change Commission, accompanied by the advocacy that the government is initiating. This is the same with the other government agency that under the office of the President such as Department of Energy. This agency is also fighting climate change through making support on research and innovation that makes fossil energy technologies cleaner and less harmful to the people and environment. Second is Department of Agriculture, a regulatory agency that redesigned their services to take into consideration new technologies towards promotion or development of climate-smart agriculture. This is to ensure that new kinds of pesticides, fertilizers, and other inputs, as well as genetically modified crops and organisms that may be created, will comply with effectiveness and safety standards. This department also supports the mitigation and adaptation approach in agriculture, wherein this also the two mechanisms applied worldwide. Mitigation is reducing the flow of heat, trapping greenhouse gases into atmosphere. Similarly, the forest vegetation simply traps the carbon from the atmosphere through the natural process of photosynthesis. Planting more trees and the best options for Filipinos to lessen the greenhouse gases and sequester the carbon from the atmosphere. Though Philippines is not a carbon producer, our mountains are at risk now for landslides and agricultural areas are prone also for drought. Filipinos can be tested their resiliency though their adaptive capacity. Adaptive capacity is the ability of the community to adjust and modify their lives. Community who are residing in coastal areas and those living near waterways, and those who live in erosion areas. The Department of Public Works and Highways is an agency that primarily addresses flooding problem holistically and not in a comforting manner. The country has 18 major river basins and Cagayan River Basin is the largest drainage area. Their concentration is in Visayas and Mindanao provinces, coming out with mitigation master plan also. There is other agency and local that truly having concern in fighting climate change, especially in flood control. In Pasig City has integrative disaster reduction and management program that is training people in rescue and disaster relief as well as rehabilitation and risk reduction in the case of flood. In addition to this disaster management agenda of Pasig City, it intends to reduce its carbon footprint by reducing fuel consumption and carbon emission from motorized vehicles through the city's existing bike sharing program and implementing carless street on Sunday's way of helping the planet Earth. Thank you for listening.